All right, we're going to get started. Can you hear me? Welcome, welcome. Great to see you here again. Awesome. I'll see if anybody else kind of comes in here. We have finished another mod and we're starting a new one. It seems like it goes so quick. If you have not had me as an instructor, some of you may have. My name is April Biss, and I have been teaching for IU for almost 7 years now, so it's crazy. It's been a long time, but I love it. I love what I do. You guys are pretty much why I do what I do, and I just, every week I'm just inspired by you guys. So we're starting a new mod, a new class. This is information design. Some of you may think, what is this all about? Have you ever heard of infographics? Probably, right? Hopefully, as student graphic designers, you are well aware of infographics. Maybe you have not created them, but you've seen them before. And I think infographics are one of the favorites among designers because it's more of a visual way to communicate facts and figures. So it's that nice verbal and visual communication instead of just verbal. I know I'm a very visual person myself, so infographics can be fun and interesting and kind of easy to follow in regards to what I think. So we're going to be, dabbling into how to make infographics with this class, kind of going through your design processes, and we'll talk a little bit more as we go forward here as we get through some of the spring cleaning stuff of the class as we begin here. There you go. Yeah, learning coding. Yeah, that's, they teach that to younger students now, and it's just one of those things that's evolving through time. So yeah, I mean, everybody, you're learning new stuff as, you're in the design field. So technology is always going to be evolving and changing. So if you're not keeping up with that, or evolving with it, you can be left behind. So it's always good to kind of be open-minded. Yep. Well, good. I'm glad you learned something new, and maybe in this class you'll learn something new as well. But the most important thing is to never give up, right? Look at this little guy. I know I've taken classes, and it's funny that you brought up coding. When I was in graduate school at SCAD, I graduated in 2012 from there with my master's degree. I primarily was a print designer before that for 10 years. I never really learned coding, or anything like that. I just primarily worked as a print designer for ad agencies, publication companies, and as a freelance designer. So when I went to go get my master's degree, I had to take a class, a web design class that really wasn't a beginner class. I should have taken that class. It was kind of a beginner class, but you had to know how to code, and I had no idea how to do that. So fortunately enough for me, I had such a great instructor who was willing to work with me outside of class to get me up to speed. And but I remember I just wanted to give up because it was like so frustrating because, I had to be on a speed track of learning this stuff because, not only was I trying to learn the coding, but I had to keep up with all the projects too. So it was kind of crazy. But I didn't give up, and I had an instructor that kind of worked with me, which definitely makes a difference. And I ended up getting an A in the class. So yeah. So don't give up. And, it's just one of the most, it's just such a great feeling when you start something like that and you're so frustrated and you do want to give up, but then you end up really doing better than you thought. It's just such a great accomplishment. It's such a great feeling. Yeah, so it's good. So don't give up. I want this class to be one that you're going to enjoy. Learn new stuff. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here for you, and I want you all to succeed. So don't feel like you're bugging me. Good. Yeah, that's great. So, I'm here to help you guys. All right. let me go forward here. I don't know if I have, let me check out my slides here. Okay. Before I get into our, spring cleaning stuff, again, I just want to introduce myself. My name is April Biss. Just call me by my first name, April. That's fine. I have, 20 years of experience in the design field. Like I said, I have a master's degree. Welcome, Christina. I pretty much got into teaching in a weird kind of a way because, as I said, I worked for several ad agencies and publication companies. And I don't want to say weird kind of way, it just kind of led me, my path kind of led me that way. And then I fell in love with teaching. I taught for a school in Tampa on ground, and I fell in love with it. So I decided to go get my master's. So I got my master's in 2012 at Savannah College of Art and Design. That was done all online, just like you guys. So good morning. So I kind of like to tell you guys that because I was in your shoes as a student online. So I know kind of the pros and cons of that. It's always good to kind of know that, to be on the other side of things. But now I'm teaching and hopefully can bring you guys my past experiences and just be there for you guys, because it is a different way of learning, especially design. Coming into a classroom and then also being an online student is totally different. And there's pros and cons about both of them. But hopefully, me having the experience of being on that other side, I can maybe be more of an advocate for things that I see, that you guys may need help more so on. So I do know kind of what you guys are going through, just just a different way of learning. But I think it's great that you guys have such flexibility. I guess that's the pro about being an online student. You do have a lot more resources and you have the flexibility in regards to, when you're taking classes, when you're listening to lectures. So it's great. All right. Just on a personal note, I live in Pittsburgh, PA. I grew up in Pittsburgh. It's a very rainy, cold day here in Pittsburgh, kind of sad and blonde. It makes me want to go under the covers and sleep all day. But I have lived other places. I've lived in Ohio. I lived there for about 6 years in Akron, Ohio. Worked there as well in ad agencies, publication companies. And then I moved to Tampa, Florida. And I lived there for 7 years after Ohio. And again, I worked there as a designer and then also in teaching. I came back to Pittsburgh about 5 years ago. Don't ask why. All my family's up here, but I miss Florida every day. But, eventually maybe I'll be back down there. I have one 5-year-old daughter. She just turned 5. Her name's Amelia. And we just got a puppy over Christmas. He is a full-blown hot dog, wiener dog. And if you had me before, you probably hear him barking every now and then, so I'll try to keep him quiet. His name is Santino. He's a crazy, crazy little guy. So, but enough about me. Let's go forward and let's take a look at, you guys pretty much hopefully know the ins and outs of Canvas, where to find the course information, the live lectures, daily checkpoints, your library information, readings, and videos. But I just want to point out a few things, just, if you're haven't checked this out yet. I have a very interesting schedule during the week, so I apologize for having some weird day switches during the weeks here. But I just want to make sure that you're privy to this. Week 1 and 3, we will be meeting, like today's Monday, and then Wednesday, week 1. Same time though, so 11:30 if you're Eastern Standard Time like me, 9:30 if you're Mountain Time. And then week 2 and 4, it'll just switch to Tuesday and Thursday. Same time, just different day. So I just wanted to kind of point that out so you guys are a little bit more about, like a heads up. Don't forget, announcements is my way to speak to you guys, give you guys resources. I just posted the learning coach schedule in here. Tara is your learning coach, so you can check out her schedule and her times if you need extra help. Oh, how is he doing? He's, we're going to get him neutered next week. So you know, as long as we're consistent with him, like anything else, he's good. But dachshunds are supposed to be the worst dogs to try to potty train among all of the breeds, which I had no idea, but he's still young. We'll get him on track. But yeah, he's going to get fixed next week. So hopefully we'll start, you know, he'll start maturing a little bit more. He's a good dog though. All right. Thanks for asking. He's our little baby for sure. It's crazy how those little creatures will just, you know, climb into your heart. All right, about the instructor, this is just a little bit about me again, and this is where you'll find my contact information, email, phone number, Skype, and just a little bit about me if you want to kind of take a look. Also, very important readings and videos. I always like to kind of review this because there are required readings every week. And then there are also lynda.com videos as kind of like supplemental resources that you can kind of check out. It's not, doesn't mean you have to watch all of these because look how long this is, chapter 1 through 4 for this playlist. But it's more like, oh, you know, I want to find out more about the process of InDesign or of infographic design. You can go in here and check out these videos. It's almost like a resource rather than something you'd be doing as a checklist. Yes, exactly. But required reading is right here, so it's not as overwhelming, but you can definitely check that out for this week. And then every week pretty much is the same thing. Yeah, lynda.com has some really nice, direct, straightforward, short videos that are very helpful. Computer support, you know, if you have any issues, there's the help desk, computer support, career preparation, content list, all that good stuff. Any questions about any of that? And don't forget your syllabus can be accessed here as well. I think sometimes we kind of are so used to going through a daily grind that we forget about this certain information like this, general guidelines, course information, course media. No questions. All right. So as we go forward here, it's always good to kind of just take a look at what we're going to be learning this week. Every week we have learning objectives, and that's basically everything that you should be walking away from every week and learning. So week 1, the learning objectives for week 1 are define and apply the appropriate use of an infographic template, analyze and evaluate technical data to appropriately filter the data for use in an information design piece, develop a content strategy using problem-solving techniques for presenting data and effective infographic. So those are the things that you're going to be walking away from either through the discussion, the assignment, and the assessment. We will be going over that this week. So week 1, welcome. Information often comes as raw data. You know, think about that. You know, when you see numbers and statistics, that's kind of what they're talking about, which is not so easy to wrap your head around. Sometimes can be overwhelming. Visualizing data and graphs and infographics makes that information relatable and much easier to comprehend. So this week you'll be learning about infographics and visualizing data, how and when to use infographic templates, and you'll be starting to develop a strategy for your own unique infographic to be completed in week 2. All right, so let's start with a short video with some interesting facts about visualizing data here. I'm going to share my screen.
Human brains are visually wired. Almost 50% of your brain is involved in visual processing. 70% of all your sensory receptors are in your eyes. And it takes us only 150 milliseconds to process a symbol, plus 100 milliseconds to attach meaning to it. Unfortunately, we have a huge problem with information overload. We receive 5 times as much the information as we did in 1986, consuming 100,500 words outside of work every day. That's why, on average, Users only read 28% of words per visit. We'd go crazy otherwise. Infographics counter this overload because they're more engaging. Color visuals increase the willingness to read by 80%. More accessible. People following directions with illustrations and text understand them 323% better than those who follow text only. More persuasive. For example, adding picture with brain scans and mentioning cognitive neuroscience will make more people believe what they're reading. And easier to recall. You'll remember 10% of what you hear, 20% of what you read, and 80% of what you see and do. In short, infographics make it easier for us, and our brains love them for it.
Okay, so that makes sense, right? It's pretty straightforward there. Hopefully you guys heard that. Sorry, I'm getting some chat log back issues here. All right, so basically that's kind of the purpose of why we're doing this course, and you're learning a little bit more about switch through here, the purpose of an infographic. Why is it that why would we utilize one? So it just makes information easier to share, especially like, do you ever go into a doctor's office and see all those technical terms, but in a nice visual graphic? If it's done in an infographic style, it's a little bit more easy to digest and understand. So that's kind of, I'm on the wrong one here, sorry. So that's the purpose and the, kind of the idea of infographics. It's easier to digest, it's more engaging, it's easier to recall and remember. All right, so as we go forward here, we're going to be talking about this a little bit more in detail, pros and cons of using infographic templates. So there are templates out there, just like with anything else. We're going to be discussing, like I said, the pros and cons. So go ahead and go through here. This is actually kind of what we just went over in that video, the statistics on visual data. It's saying here 90% of the information transmitted to the brain is visual. I mean, that's pretty significant. 40% of people respond more to visual information than text. 84% of communication will be visual by 2018. Infographic design increases by 1% each day. Approximately 13 million results on search for infographic on Google. There's 13 million results. I know I Google that a lot. Infographics are liked and shared on social media 3 times more than any other type of content. I know I use a lot of infographics in a lot of the announcements that I make because I just think it's visually engaging. It's easier to understand in some cases. And I don't know, just, you recall a little bit more information. So there are benefits of infographics. And then they're also talking about the challenges of creating an infographic, an engaging one that's simple, yet kind of, provides the information in a factual way. All right, so in your discussion 1, go ahead and read through the background. I'm going to read over your prompt here and let me know if you have any questions. So you're going to research infographic tools and templates and best practices of when to use them. So there are tools out there and templates that you can use. This article, which is a hyperlink from Creative Blog, contains links to various template tools to study to better understand why they are, or what they are, sorry. So then there's a creativeblog.com infographic tools hyperlink here. You're going to answer the following questions on the use of infographic templates. What are the pros and cons of using a template? Think about that. Do you have restrictions if we're using a template? If so, what are they? What are the pros of using it? Maybe it's, a time saver. So think about those things. Would the use of templates be perceived as cheating on your design work? Why or why not? Now you're going to present this in your own words, in your own perspective. You may bring in supplemental citations to kind of support your perspective, which I think that's the best way to go about it, especially when you have to cite your sources in there anyway. So in your own words, you know, do you believe it's cheating or not? And then you can, you know, supplement it with citations. What could be some of the issues with relying on someone else's design to produce content for a client? Think about that. Have you ever designed from a template? Okay. So if you've ever designed from a template, think about the pros and cons of that. Some experiences. It might not just be with an infographic template, but whatever that you worked with at that time. So are there times when producing an infographic from scratch would be necessary, do you think, and why? I like to free design, make my own guidelines. There you go. So you could talk about both of those, you know. So some things to think about. And I think it's good to kind of talk about the pros and cons so that in the future, when you get a project, you can kind of weigh your pros and cons, whether or not you believe an infographic would be effective or not, if that's kind of what you're doing for a project. So for your citation, you might use articles that show examples of the use of templates. You can also find articles from experts that suggest the pros and cons of using templates in general as a designer. Don't forget to cite your sources and add your own thoughts to the conversation. We don't want you always just posting, you know, copy and pasting the citation in without summing it up in your own words. So we want to see that you're using your critical thinking skills too. Don't forget to, you know, build upon each other's thinking and perspective. You can poke holes in each other's theories, you know, and when I say that, that means if you see somebody looking in one perspective, maybe give them another angle or perspective to think about. Always be respectful, but discuss this and figure it out together. Also, don't forget you guys have requirements that you should be hitting upon for your initial and your response posts. Make sure you're doing that. Any questions with that? So you're going to click on this article, and that's going to take you to this 18 incredible tools for creating infographics. You can kind of go through here, take a look at some of the suggested sites that you can create these templates from. I actually did a couple of these myself. I think it was Visme I tried. It was a free one. What else? Canva. Tried that one. So you can actually click on these to check them out a little bit more in detail. So if you want to kind of, you know, just see how it works, you can browse different infographics, templates, just to see. If this goes right, I might have to sign up here. Typically what you can see is just you know, some templates from scratch, but it looks like I have to sign up to do this one. But you can, you know, go through there, see what you can see, the different websites that provide templates. You can read through here about each one. But you know, also don't forget that you can also look up, just in general, online, you know, just pros and cons of, and don't forget to put, you know, infographic templates. Let me see if I can find something. Looks like it's just showing you the pros and cons of infographics in general. There's a template. Pros and cons of buying an infographic template. So here we go. That takes you right into some of the pros, some of the cons. So you could use that as like as a source too. I think this is the same link here. Let me just see. Yep, that's the same link. So that's pretty upfront. You guys have any questions about that? You said no questions, so we're good to go. It starts you, kind of keeps you thinking about, you know, when you would use an infographic and maybe when you wouldn't, a template. It also keeps you more aware of, yeah, there are templates out there that you can use, and maybe times when you shouldn't use a template. All right. All right, so that's discussion one. Go ahead and get that started as soon as you can. The sooner the better, because you guys can comment quicker and gain as much as you can from discussing it in a collaborative way. All right. So pros and cons of using infographic templates, thinking about that. And then benefits of infographics. We talked about are becoming the preferred way to present data for information or advertising purposes. Putting any type of information into a graphic that is quick and easy to understand, visually engaging and shareable is a perfect way to promote a brand. Some design trends come and go, but infographics are here to stay and are becoming a common task for any designer. So when you're creating an infographic, it's a specific challenge that requires a specific mindset and certain standards. So it has to be much more than just an Excel chart. Otherwise, no design skill and thus no designer would be needed. So a simple and engaging infographic is not simple to create, and many times a client or company do not have the time or budget for a custom design. So luckily, there are a number of infographic tools and templates we just looked at available online. So that would be definitely, you know, if you have no time to create one from scratch or budget, you know, you can definitely use the templates. As a designer, you want to be able to stand behind your work and show off your skills. There are some considerations and decisions to be made before you start the design process to see if the use of a template would be appropriate. All right, so we took a look at that. Let's go ahead and skip forward here and dive right into your week one. So that takes us to actually the process of designing your infographic. So we're going to be designing an infographic poster, and assignment one starts you kind of the process of doing this. All right, so the learning objectives covered are analyze and evaluate technical data to appropriately filter the data for use in an informational design piece. Develop a content strategy. That's kind of what you're doing for this project, using problem-solving techniques for presenting data in an effective infographic. I'm going to switch here. We're going to go right into your Canvas assignment one. Did you guys take a look at this yet? Maybe a peek. Okay, good. It may look a little overwhelming to you, but once I explain it, hopefully it'll be a little bit more straightforward here. So it just talks about, you know, what infographics are, what their purpose is. In your background information here, thoughtful planning goes into play when you're doing that. There's different types of charts that are involved in infographics to think about too. So it's just kind of talking about how to create an effective infographic based on the visual story. Go ahead and read through there. The prompt I'll kind of say out loud because I think that's the most important part here for our demo. So for the next 2 weeks, you'll be working on creating an infographic from scratch. So you won't be using a template, FYI. Your assignment this week is to develop a content strategy through filtering the data and storyboarding your infographic. You're going to analyze the information from this website, there's a hyperlink there. Take the statistical information from the internet usage chart and decide what information you will need to present your story. This chart also links to more specific information that helps build the chart. You are not required to use this additional information, but it may help you form a story for your infographic. So there's a lot of information on this on this website, basically what they're telling you is you don't have to use all of the information. You're just using a part of it, okay? This is a snapshot of what's on the website. So this actually is not an updated version. This is just showing you what's on this website. So it says here, note the data shown in the above image is a screenshot of the web page you will be getting your data from. It may be more current on the website. Please use the data from the website, not what is shown in this image. Okay, so don't, there will be an updated chart here with updated totals. All right, so click on this website here, and it's going to take you to the Internet World Stats. So basically what we're doing, and this is showing you in different charts. So this one's a pie chart. The internet users in the world by regions, and this is updated March 2019. This is pie chart. So you can see the regions are located in the key on the right, and they're telling you what percentage in each region are internet users in the world. So that's a pie chart. This information is more of stats. So this is what you're going to be pulling from, and that's pretty much what you see here. Only they're just pulling this middle information in regards to the totals. So you have the world regions on the left: Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, Caribbean, Middle East, North America, Oceania, Australia, and then the world total. So this is the population in 2019 in each of these world regions. The population of the world, percentage-wise, kind of based on each region. And then this is the most important part, the internet users as of March 2019, based on all of those regions, okay? And then if you go over here, the growth, they're just showing you the time span from 2000 to 2019, so it's a 9-year difference of showing you how that has either grown, or maybe it looks like most of them have grown. So you can see each percentage based on region, how much they have grown in terms of internet usage. All right, so that's the statistics. Down here you can see the same thing, only they're showing you, this is a pie chart based on that same statistic. So let's look at Asia, for example. Asia is 50% pretty much almost. So if we go to Asia here, so it's pretty much 50% growth. So internet usage on the very right here, 50%. So that's where they came up with this total. All right, and so on and so forth. Now that's a pie chart. They're showing you in a different way visually. This is a bar graph. Same thing, only they're using, instead of percentage, they're using total users based on millions of users. So let's look at Asia again. Let's go up here and look at Asia. And let's look at the internet users. There's 1,000 million, 2 billion, 197 million. So you can see that number being reflected here, just kind of the total billion. And then based on the bar graph with all the other world regions. Sometimes, yeah, isn't that crazy? Sometimes it's better to show a pie chart based on the information. Sometimes it's better to see a bar graph. It is a lot. Billions. That's crazy, huh? So it gives you some other, other statistics, but those are the two main ones I wanted to show you. So basically what you're going to be doing for the next 2 weeks is you're going to be creating your own poster showing the growth of internet usage based on each world region. All right, let's go keep reading here. As you're planning your visual, go to ProQuest Library, search under Arts using data, visualization, be sure to include quotation marks, and find at least one article on data visualization that will help you understand how to take data and find the story for your strategy. All right, so ProQuest Library, you're going to go ahead and click on that. Go back here. Data visualization under arts. Okay. So I'm just using a quote. I don't know if I have a, under arts, I guess it would be where you would be. Well, this is something I'll probably have to whittle down based on like art. So let's see, advanced search. Let's do art. Hopefully I spelled that right. All right, so I just kind of let's see here, practice advocacy. There were some that I actually clicked on before. Too much data, little information. I almost wonder if we could even put infographic in there. Effectively visualizing library. Data visualization, here's one. I almost wonder if we just do like a basic search of infographic design or something like that. See if we come up with other better options here. There we go. Engaging infographic. So, you know, the keyword is important. They're telling you to go through the arts under data visualization, find at least one article on data visualization that will help you understand how to take data and find the story for your strategy. So if you want to put that in, or if you want to put infographic design, that's fine. Whatever you can find, there's articles and strategies for that that you can kind of sift through and get more information, you know, for your strategy and your planning here. Okay, so the assignment instructions you're going to use InDesign to lay out your content strategy and arrange it so that it can be presented to a client for approval of your strategy. Your content strategy should include the following: a synopsis of the main story you will tell. So just, you know, talk about what you're trying to visually tell, you know, with your factual information too. A plan for your infographic. So intro, data, conclusion as a sketch or outline. Almost like thumbnails. Include a plan for hierarchy, so type of imagery and what text you'll see. Think about headline, subheads, body copy, for instance. The type of graphs you will use for the data. Are you going to show, you know, certain graphs? A suitable color palette. Be sure it fits the topic and your audience rather than being your personal preference. Since the finished piece will be printed poster, your color swatches should be in CMYK color mode. One more thing is citation, at least one ProQuest article that you found that helped you come up with your visualization, data visualization story, solution, and how it was helpful. So note this week, you are only planning your strategy for the infographic. In week 2, you will be using the plan to define the infographic itself. Does that make sense? So this is kind of like the research and kind of brainstorming part of it. All right. So you're going to export once you're done, create a multi-page PDF. You're going to name it, and then you can submit that for grading. Yes, and I'm actually going to give you a template to work from if you want to use this. Let me show you the PDF version of it. And then you can, you know, change it based on what you want it to look like and what you want it to say. But it might be helpful just to get it started here. Hold on one second. This is what I gave to other past students, and they seem to like that. Okay, so this is a PDF. I'm going to give you a InDesign file so you can actually go in and fill out this information and place your sketches in. But this is basically all the stuff that's in your prompt. So here's this content strategy. So overall, I wrote in here, and what you'll do is just replace my information with yours. So you'd highlight this and just kind of write your own synopsis. So I wrote the overall strategy is to show verbally and visually the world internet usage total, and within each region listed that easily communicates verbally and visually the overall totals. Using an icon, this is kind of my idea, using an icon map of the world, the concept will show the total world internet usage as a whole above the world map, and then the other visual and facts will be sectioned off based on mapped regions. And here's my kind of idea sketched out. Now I did this in InDesign, and I'll show you in a second here. So I'm showing the world. This is kind of like a thumbnail sketch. Half of the world, and then these would be based on each world region, kind of these lines, and then maybe the percentages here highlighted. Obviously, this would be a headline up here that would bring in kind of the, tell the reader what they're looking at. And then down here would be more of the citation and maybe supplemental copy that's supported, giving the viewer a little bit more idea of what we're looking at. Plan for hierarchy. Again, this is all part of your prompt. Headline would be larger in point size and emphasize. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and take this out and put your information in there. But you can read through what I wrote, kind of make yours more unique. So I said headline would be larger in point size and emphasize by placing it on top of the infographic that will explain what the viewer is about to read and view within the infographic. Subhead will further explain what the viewer will be deciphering, and then subhead will, and I dot, 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 because I didn't finish that. Just kind of giving you guys a good lead into what you could write. Facts and totals will be placed in each region, showing internet usage for each region. These facts will be smaller in point size than the subhead and headline. Graphs. Total number will be shown within the infographic. So I'm showing the total number. You might want to show this as a pie chart. You might want to show this as a bar graph. So start thinking about what you think is the best way to show this. What I would do before you even start any of this, I would go out and just look at infographic design, like posters, just to see kind of different ways to visually engage a viewer into seeing maybe these statistics in a unique way. Just be inspired by what you see, start doing some sketches, and then really kind of thinking about, you know, the way that you're going to show it in your poster. Talk about colors that you're going to use, and then this is your ProQuest citation information that you can write in there. Now I have an InDesign file here. I'll place this in announcements so you guys can open this up. Here's the working file so you can actually go in here and change whatever you want. Use it if you want to. If not, no big deal. You can just use it to inspire you. Yes, so the citation should be APA formatted. Anything that you cite should be APA formatted. So you can show the format here, and then I believe it's supposed to be shown on your poster real small somewhere too, I believe. I'll have to look more into that, I can't remember. But at least have it in your paperwork here before you place it on your poster. But what I did here was I actually just went in and used the tools in here. So just use like the pencil tool. Oops, not like that. Pull this up. So you can just go ahead and sketch it out in here if you want. You know, some of your ideas. like I did the world. And it doesn't have to be, you know, super detailed. I'm doing like the world. This will be countries. So I'm just using the pencil tool. And then go ahead and you can use the line tools if you want. I'm just showing you kind of things that you can think about, to simple shapes that you can utilize in here. If you do a bar graph, then, you know, obviously you can just real quickly, you know, you could just show like a square here and just write in here, you know, this would be a bar graph or something like that, you know, where you're not showing the bar graph, you're not completing it, you're just saying this would be a bar graph. Just like I'm putting here, these are just little squares that would be the totals of the statistics in there. So it's almost like for position only, showing you that these would be a statistic totals. Oops, what am I doing? And then, you know, this would be a headline. So it's very loose, but I kind of get the idea of, like, you know, I can see what you're thinking about. Here's the headline. And just like I showed in the other sketch here, this would be the supplemental information. You know, if I wanted to do body copy down here, this is very loose, but that would be, you know, one idea. So that's how I kind of came up with this sketch here. I just did it all in the same page. You can do a couple of sketches. You could just do one. This doesn't have to be the size of the poster. It's just kind of showing you the idea here. Any questions about that? And then when you're done, you would just save this out as a PDF and submit it for evaluation. So I'll post this to announcements. You guys can, you know, use this. If not, no big deal. I think that would just save you guys some time, if anything. I'll just really start researching infographics. I'm a big fan of Pinterest. So I just went on Pinterest and started looking up infographic design. Or actually, I look up poster. Might be better. There you go. Some of these are real complicated. Some of these are a little bit more simplified. But you kind of can look at these maybe just in how they are showing the facts. You know, here's one that's kind of interesting because it shows graphics with percentages with text, so visual with verbal information. But they also have down here a bar graph. So here's a bar graph. Here down here, they're showing you a percentage based on the people pictogram down here. So it's, you know, you could do something like this where you're dividing it up into regions or information on how you want to proceed, how you want to show this. Just kind of take a look and be inspired by what you see. I know some of you guys are already kind of looking at these infographics, which is great. Some of these are really overcomplicated. Just write in simple infographic posters. Some of these are just really visually interesting and different, and might be showing you, you know, how to make something, or here's 5 tips for a great logo design. Here's one of, let me see here. So some are showing you how to do something, some are just telling you facts. Kind of think about how you want to show your information. Here's more bar graph charts. I know it seems a little overwhelming, and I'm going to show you some examples from students so you kind of get a good idea of what has been done too. And just remember, you're not creating your infographic right now. You're just coming up with the process. All right, just a couple of things to keep in mind. Just like a good story, an effective infographic conveys the idea in an integrated way. Now think about this with a beginning, a middle, and an end, almost like a story. So the beginning introduces the problem, idea, or question. The middle illustrates and informs the data. And then the conclusion wraps it up. Analyze and evaluate your data to identify what the story is. What is the message you want to bring out? Then identify the different sections that help tell that story. By creating a content strategy and planning out your information, you will be able to lay out the design in a logical, easy to understand sequence. Your target audience will also determine the complexity of your strategy. So when visually presenting data in graphs or charts, it's important that the type of chart relates well to the kind of data it is displaying. So for example, a percentage is part of a whole, so 100%. A circle or pie chart becomes a natural way to visualize that data. However, a percentage that shows an increase, so more than 100% total, will have to be displayed with a bar or a line graph to make sense. So bar graphs are usually more effective when comparing growth or usage. So there's a little suggestion there. Bar graphs are usually more effective when comparing growth or usage. Choosing the type of graph to use requires that you really think about what the end message is and how the visual will best communicate that message to your audience. A graph that is not displaying the data in proper context is misleading and can be easily discredited by your audience. So there's a little key there. You guys are showing the internet growth and usage, right? So maybe the bar graph is the best way to go. All right. So we kind of went through this. This is the assignment prompt that we just talked about. And then here are some visual examples. I'm actually going to take a quick 5-minute break here and we can take a look at some student examples too. Does that sound good? Give you guys a quick break. Any questions before we do that? Okay, we'll take a quick break and then we'll get back to it. Be right back, guys. All right, can you hear me? Hopefully you can. All right. I forgot to ask you guys, did you guys have a good Mother's Day? Good. That's great. Yeah, we actually had a picnic on Saturday, and it was the only day that didn't rain, so we lucked out. We just had a small little cookout, but it was very nice. Well, good. I'm glad you guys had a great Mother's Day. Yep. I did. Thank you so much. Did you get my response? It was very sweet of you. I think you're the only one that actually said Happy Mother's Day, so very nice. All right, you can probably hear my dog here. He's freaking out here. I apologize if I have him in a crate in a room, but he's so loud. Hopefully he'll calm down here. All right, so, looking at infographics and be inspired by them, I just wanted to show you some different styles here. There's two on this slide. One on the left is showing you a visual of a hipster versus Harry Potter hipster. And there's actually like a bar graph underneath those two. How their time is spent, which is kind of funny. On the right is showing more iconic like pictograms and icons with percentages. There's a pie chart in the middle there. So there's different types of, we're going to get into our assessment here later in this, when we meet up on Wednesday. There's different types of styles and things that you can take a look at. I'm going to open up some student examples for this. Next week, you guys will be creating your infographics. Let me see here really quickly here. Assessment 1 this week, which we'll go over on Wednesday, is creating an infographic from a template. So what's kind of interesting about this this week is you're going to create an infographic. You're going to be discussing the pros and cons of creating one with the template first from scratch. So that's what it'll be like in the discussion this week. And then you're going to be starting your strategy for your infographic in assignment 1. Assessment 1, you're going to be creating an infographic from a template. And then when we go into week 2, you're going to create an infographic from scratch. So just to kind of give you a heads up there, that's kind of what's going on there. Now, let me show you some examples from past students. And then I'm going to show you a video about how to create simple charts in Illustrator. I think that might be very helpful too. All right, so here's some student examples. Let me open up all these here. Oh, so let me open all of these up. Really? Okay. I think it's because I selected all of them at one time. Let me see if I can do it individually. There we go. Now, some of these are, more effective than others, but at least you can kind of get the sense. And this would be really kind of what you're looking at for week 2. But I do want to show you some of these student examples to kind of get you inspired. Some of these aren't actually opening. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to have to flip through a lot of these because I have a lot of sample examples to show you here. Give me 1 second. So think about your target audience and what it is that you're talking about. This is a poster created here from a student in the past for week 2. So you're talking about the world total internet user statistics. You might want to use a more tech-looking type of elements, you know, where it looks more technology-based. So think about the colors and the style that you're going to choose. This particular student went with a more almost like a flat illustration look. They're showing it's almost like a screen loading too, which they misspelled, but the map is showing the regions, and then the middle section is showing not only are the regions spelled out with the internet user statistics, but it's also showing you a bar chart inside there. You can see the colors are getting, you know, longer if there's more population that are looking at the internet users. So you can see Asia down there, it's the longest based on the percentage and the numbers. And then they have the world total. Here's another one that's just kind of pointing out all of the statistics visually and verbally. So they're showing you each section based on the map, color coding it, pointing it out with each of these. Now the only thing with this one is you can't quite see which one is, you know, using the most. You know, it's just kind of pointing out more of the facts based on each region. It's not really showing you, you know, Asia is the top user, internet usage user based on their population. Now this is obviously going to be different percentages because these are a little older. The information is a little older. Kind of the same type of an idea concept, just looking more like a computer here for this concept. Here's another one kind of showing more of an image photograph and then pointing out the world total and the usage. Now, I think, you know, maybe to make this more effective, the highest population of internet users maybe have at the top. Kind of something to think about. I think I like the first one because it showed you a bar graph within the actual percentages. Okay, here's one showing you a pie chart with the world regions on the right. The only issue with this one is it's not really specifically telling you the totals or percentages, which would be nice to see along with the visual. It's like, what am I looking at? Just be as clear as possible. Here's another one. Looks a little bit more technologically styled here. Tech-based. And again, maybe all this needs is maybe a little bar chart on the left kind of showing you the most versus the least based on population and internet usage. This one's actually very interesting because it's showing you this globe, but then around the globe is almost like a pie chart. And they're pointing out each region, but then also giving you the statistic and then the pie chart showing you the percentage based on the internet users. Okay, let's see, this one's a little bit more kind of a lot of details in this one. I would say this one probably is a little harder to follow because there's a lot of different graphs. So I would probably keep it a little bit more simple, like the other ones that you saw. This one's interesting because it's showing you the dot, the highest dot on the top. The biggest dot is the most internet users based on percentage of people. Going down to the least. Here's another way to list it, although, you know, I think they're going from the most to the least here. That's the idea in the chart. Let's see if there's any other ones here. There's a couple that are not opening for me, but hopefully you kind of get the idea and the feel of that. So think about how you can make yours, you know, more, you know, unique, visually clear on what it is that you're saying and what it is that you're wanting to say visually and verbally. Any questions about that? Just going to click off some of my things here so we can get started with, oh, hold on, guys. Okay, no questions. All right, I'm going to show a little video here. It talks about how to create a bar graph in Illustrator, and I think it's kind of a useful video. I'm going to post the link in here too so you can access this. So you can kind of get a good idea of how to do this in Illustrator.
Hello, James George, and this is Creative Beacon, and this week I'm going to show you how to do a stacked bar graph in W Illustrator. I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, okay, so I've got to figure out all of the values and measure the distance, and you don't have to do any of that. It's actually really easy. I'm going to show you right below the blend tool here, you have a set of different graphs and things like that. And so if you go to the stacked bar graph tool, that's what I'm going to do. If you double click the tool, it's got all of them here, and you've got different options here, graph options. And so you can have the values on the bottom side, top, or on both sides. You can add a drop shadow, which we'll just do that just for fun. First row in front, add legend across the top, let's check that. First column in front. And so what that means is if it's stacked, the way Illustrator stacks objects. The bar width, 90%, cluster width, so you can you can highly customize the look of your graph. And if you click OK, you can click and drag out where your bar graph is going to go. Now, here you want to put in your values and hit enter each time. And so, like here, we'll put in 10, enter, 15, enter, 25, enter, 11, enter, 5, enter, 14, enter, 19. Let's change it to 17. Okay, so from here, you've got these little buttons across here, and you can import data. So if you've got an Excel spreadsheet, you could actually just import it, and you don't even have to worry about the values. They'll automatically be put in there. And if you just hit the check mark to apply, there's your bar graphs. Makes it really easy. And then you can get rid of that. And if you use your direct selection tool, you can select each bar graph. And you can see that this little shape here behind it is supposed to be the drop shadow. But you can select this and colorize it. So we'll go over to swatches, and you can create your own custom colors all the way down through here. So like one, I'll make orange. Oops, we want to make sure we're not on stroke. Actually, I don't want stroke on any of these. So I will make sure to remove it. And let's go down through here and make sure that there's no stroke on anything. I really don't want a stroke on anything. And, you know, that direct selection tool is key, because if you try to do this with the direct selection tool, or the selection tool, it will just select the whole thing. But if you use the direct selection tool, you can go through and customize the look of your bar graph and change each individual color. So on the fill, we'll go to swatches, change that to orange. Maybe this time that will be blue, then purple, yellow, red, like a gold, and hot pink. And what's cool about the little shadow being editable is you can leave it like a flat bar graph, which is, you know, the design style right now. Or you can blur this if you wanted. We'll go back and select these. One thing you could do is select each one of these and go down to transparency and drop them down to like maybe 30%. So it's not so crisp. And it gives you just a slight shadow, which is interesting. It looks like it's hovering just above the surface. And if you have like a slight color on something, or maybe like a cream color or something, and you want to help make the bars stand out, you know, that's a great way to do it. Or you could go up to effects and apply a blur or drop, or maybe not a drop shadow, because that's supposed to be a drop shadow, but you could feather it, or you could do anything really. You can create any kind of style that you want. You could fill this with a pattern in the background and make it stripes. You know, you could really customize the look of this, and that's what really makes this awesome. And you can see it already plotted all the values for you, and this is just a really handy tool.
All right, do you guys have any questions about that? Kind of an interesting, just a slower step-by-step way to do bar graphs. Okay. Yep. Yeah, and there's other graphs in there too. Let me open up Illustrator real quick. We can take a look at it. But that's just the bar graph. Give me 1 second here. Create new. And like I said, I'm showing you this not because you have to do this for this week, just something to think ahead of, you know, next week you guys will be getting a little bit more into creating your own possible graphs. So in Illustrator, not in InDesign, in Illustrator, you do have the column graph tool. If you hold that down, just like this gentleman just talked about, you have the bar graph tool. That's kind of what he was talking about. You also have a column graph tool, which instead of the bar is horizontal, the column graph tool is more vertical. So you would put in your values. Oops, putting into Now the values are based on, you know, when the first cell is basically the first from top to bottom. And I think this is, let me see here. Yeah, it's going to go from 0 to what, you know, the increase, unless you had a negative. Let's see, it has a -2 in here. Then obviously it would show the negative. If you put numbers in this cell, which are the next cell over, it's going to give you kind of like, if you're, you know, if you're showing internet usage based on population. So for instance, you know, this first cell maybe would be the United States. So the black would be the United States population, and maybe the gray total would represent how many users. So that might differ, right? So you might see something like, you know, actually it would be more like the other way around. So maybe this would be 3 and this would be 1. Okay, so out of like the population, and you would have the number in there based on the internet usage, that gray area would be that. So based kind of whatever you put in the columns, the output is going to show you, and they're all different on the actual column graph, the totals that you put in. The stacked column, same thing. Just going to show you here. This kind of shows you, instead of being side by side, it's going to stack it on top. You know how I just did that, but it's showing, it was showing side by side, but it's stacking it on top for this one. And you can go in here and use the direct selection tool and change the color, just like was shown in the video. Yep. Okay, we'll kind of go more into detail as we go forward. I just wanted to show you a couple of these things. Then you have the line graph tool. The pie, let's go down to the pie graph tool, because that's another one that's typically used. So I just clicked right on the artboard and clicked OK for the ratio. You can kind of specify the size of your pie chart at that point. I just clicked OK. And this is kind of where you would put your maybe internet usage percentage. I'm going to put percentages in here, just based on first column. So that's kind of how it would show you in the first column if you were to put them all in this first column. If you didn't want to show it that way, take this all out. You could put them across horizontally based on the percentage as well. Now this will go inside the pie chart. So you got the 20%, the 40, and the 60. We can even put 10% in there for this one. You can see kind of breaking out into those percentages. Put 2%. So you would put the percentages, you know, horizontally in that regard. So then you can go in here and start changing the color. Oops. With your direct selection tool. All right. I just wanted to show you a few of those options and give you that information so that you can kind of play around with it if you want. There are other charts in there too you can play around with. And we'll get in a little bit more detail as we go forward, like I said, about those graphs, so we kind of are a little bit more clear on what you would put in there total-wise. Let's see. All right, like I said, I'm going to get into your week 1 assessment on Wednesday. So we'll go ahead and wait and stop here, because I think I gave you guys a lot of information. Let me know if you have any questions as like kind of what we went over today. Okay. Yep, so we'll get into your assessment on Wednesday. If you have any questions, you might want to wait for the recording or the lecture on Wednesday. We'll go over your assessment 1. And then if you have any questions with your assignment 1 or discussion that you want to go over while we're in class on Wednesday, we'll probably have time at the end of class to kind of open it up for you guys too. Are you guys excited about this class? Yeah. Okay, so just a little bit of heads up. Let's go into your see, course media. That's right. It's designing. Okay, so this is your task list and then your topical outline that you see here. It's in your syllabus section. So this is basically what we're going to be doing this week. So you can kind of check out what we'll be doing each week. So go ahead and look through here. Week 2, again, we'll be talking about, you know, what makes an infographic successful. You guys will be designing an infographic from scratch, like I said. So you're going to be doing a template this week and by scratch next week. And that'll be kind of a good way to know the differences too by doing it. Okay, week 3, you guys are going to be discussing what does information design mean to you. You're going to have an assessment quiz, just kind of give you an idea of what's going on as we go forward. And then you're going to be planning another strategy that will be getting into a new project that will carry you into your week 4 work. Okay, so just kind of give you a heads up. Week 1 and 2 will go together, and 3 and 4 will go together. And you know, we'll be kind of breaking it up as such. All right. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. If you guys want to go ahead and start now, you can. And hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday. If not, we'll have the lecture in the session area. You can listen to the recording if you missed it. You guys have a wonderful day, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, guys, have a great day.
So how has April been?